He's the professional fighter who never fights. It's weird. Like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't actually fight, but he definitely is like an Instagram thought more so than he is anything else. But kudos to him, man. He's the world's #1 fanboy.
Everything's good?
Yeah, good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. We're good. Sick. All right. Jay, first, man, I just got to give you props, dude, because I started training boxing for the first time. I had my third day Thursday.
Oh, wow.
And you played a big part in that, man.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. That's the goal, man. Get everyone boxing.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it. Just buy some gloves, right? It's the best workout.
Yeah.
For real.
And I've heard you say that this has given you just like a better, I guess, just like more structure, more routine. I guess it's more focused than the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, look, because when you're in LA and you're young and filming videos all the time, running around, you're friends with everyone in the city. There's a new party every single night. There's a new event to go to. It's just sort of chaotic, to be honest, and it's fun. I loved that lifestyle while I was younger, but it's a dead end. It's not a realistic lifestyle. LA is this like fantasy world that you can get caught up in very, very easily, and I did, and then that's where I found myself like sort of lost. And then boxing, forced me to get focused, be disciplined, and like take a look at myself, and really see what I was made of, see where I was slacking, see where my flaws were. Because if you get into that ring on fight night and you didn't do everything right, it's gonna get exposed.
Mm-hmm. It's probably nice too to be able to just know you're getting like a nice 8-hour sleep, or like at least you have to, or I guess it just gives everything in your life more direction, right? Versus like doing what you were doing before. Obviously it was working really well, but like you said, it's really chaotic.
It's each day is different in that sort of old lifestyle, and the routine creates happiness, right? So that's all boxing is every single day. And then you learn to fall in love with those little improvements that you're making, learning to fall in love with the art of the sport and the process. That's one of our sayings as a team, is fall in love with the process, because it can get very rigorous, it can get very repetitive when you're just doing the same thing week after week after week. And so we like to find fun in the little moments, and that really helps everything, and it doesn't feel like a job, and it's just much more healthy of a lifestyle. And I'm very happy when I'm not in camp, but I'm also very, very happy when I'm in camp. So I love it.
I did an interview with Wiz Khalifa a while ago, and he started MMA training. And he said something that made me think of you, that like there's no better way to start your day than punching someone in the face or having someone try to punch you in the face. Like it really gets you calibrated and focused. Like
seriously, bro. Like when you're getting hit in the face or hitting someone in the face, nothing else matters. That's all that matters, is that present moment. And look, it'll wake you right up. And we're animals at the end of the day, and so sometimes you need to like let that out. You see dogs running around in the yard tackling each other. It's natural for animals to do this, and our society has taken us away from fighting or war, or sword fights back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it sort of brings out that primal instinct, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone has that in them, but I think some people just don't even realize it, but they have that like fighter thing in them that they need to let it out.
Mm-hmm. It's like with little kids, like even if you give like 2 toddlers sticks, the first thing they'll start doing is trying to whack each other with it.
Literally, they're not just looking at it.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right. Like, the older you get, society kind of puts us in these little boxes, in these categories, and it seems like this is a way to release the tension from that in a healthy way.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think, that was what helped me a lot is, all the stresses, and I deal with anxiety, and, just life can become a lot. And I think letting out that extra energy in the gym, or, just taking out some of that anger. I felt like very mad at people. Like, I was very resentful of people because I felt like a target of the media for, I still am, but it just is a little bit different now. But I used to just, like, anything I would do, I would breathe and people would be mad. And I was like, that built up like resentment in me. And I think like I got to let that out in the gym and let it out on the heavy bag or let it out on someone's face. So that definitely helped me for sure.
It's almost like I know you used to have that place in Calabasas, 15,000 square feet. And it's so weird because that seems like something that like the average person, they would just like die for that. But it sounds like with you get more fulfillment out of being in, a damp, hot, small boxing ring.
Yeah.
More so than you did from being in basically a palace.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do love, that house and everything and all the memories I created there. But in a weird way, LA just sucked the soul out of me. Like, I don't know. It was a hard place for me, and I didn't really even realize it until I got to like see a bird's eye view. And whenever I get into the ring, I just feel at home, no matter where I'm at in the world, and nothing else matters besides that present moment. And like I said, that lifestyle was cool, but it's just not realistic. Like, you can't live in a mansion with all of your homies just like partying every single day, and like, what are you gonna do when you're 30? Like, you're gonna wake up and be like, all right guys, like, let's go to the club. Like, no. Like, you gotta grow up at some point. And I didn't go to college, so and I didn't even finish high school. So I think I had that part of me where I wanted to go through that like party phase, frat boy phase. So got it out of my system.
It's kind of like, there's this saying about retirement too, right? Like, you work your whole life, and then at 60 or 70, people think they're just going to go and sit on a beach and have a drink every day, but that's going to get old in like 3 days, and you're going to be like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I think as humans, you got to work for something. You got to like have a goal and have progress. I've always thought like, I have that same exact thought, like, oh, I'm just going to retire and like go chill. But then I'm like, no, like I enjoy the game of life, and I enjoy the chess match that we play every single day, getting to and accomplishing our goals, and that's really what's fun, and that progress, it keeps everything exciting. I don't know. I think it would be boring to retire, but who knows?
So what's like your long game with boxing now? It sounds like you're really in this like all the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the sky is the limit, right? It's just about me putting the work in the gym, which I'm willing to do. I'm more than happy to do. And anything is possible because I have the natural talent and natural ability, and I have a great team. And the goal I've sort of set for myself now is just becoming a world champion, which, is hilarious to say, but I know I could do it, and I want to do it just to prove to people like, oh, I came from YouTube and Disney Channel. Like, I came into this sport years after everyone, and I still became a world champion. So, I don't know what the road to world champion is. I don't know who I fight along the way, but part of that is doing massive fights, making history, and taking out some people on the hit list who have talked shit. Some of whom are boxers, some of whom are MMA fighters. but we will see what happens. All I got to do is win.
You know, it's funny because, like what you were saying about chess, right? You know, like you get a lot of hate on the internet, and people say you're bad for the sport of boxing. But like I was telling you before the cameras were on, you know, you're part of the reason why I just started boxing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a lot of people like that. And like you said too, you're starting this late compared to most of the other boxers, and that's a big thing that detractors of yours say, like, oh, you know, well, how do you respond to those guys who've been doing it their whole life since they were like 4, 5, 6? But I actually think it's a good thing because you're kind of elevating what's possible by saying like, hey, well, that's good for them, but I'm coming from a whole different world and I'm still trying to become a world champion. Like, I don't know. I think that's something people should actually praise you for instead of knocking you for.
No, I appreciate that. And look, you know, when I came into this sport late, I didn't think I would be here now. But, you know, this is sort of a snowball effect and it's only getting bigger and my goals are getting bigger and I love it. So why not try to become a world champion? And Deontay Wilder, you know, he's an inspiration of mine because he started boxing, I believe, when he was like 21 or 22. And he became the world champion, has only lost once. So, you know, if he could do it, then so can I. And I like to just prove people wrong and make them eat their own words. And all I've tried to do is, you know, help and bring more eyeballs to this sport. And I think that's what we're seeing. For many years, MMA, you know, took over boxing. And now I think we're starting to see like a little bit of a decline on the MMA side of things because of the stars and like just the undefeated fighters in that space retiring or losing. And now boxing's making a strong comeback. The lightweight division, you know, the Garcias, the Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, like those guys are killer. Then the heavyweight division being so exciting. Then me and my brother coming in, twisting things up. It's an exciting time for boxing, and that's all I want to do is help it become the number one sport. And even if not number 2, number 3, cool, you know. But boxing wasn't talked about for many years, and I think it's the dopest sport. So I want to help just make it bigger, better, and take over MMA.
What do you think the biggest problem with boxing was, you know, before you came around and before obviously the other big names in the sport?
I think the biggest problem in boxing that is still a problem and has been a problem is just the promoters not making the big fights that everyone wants to see. You know, what the audience, you know, serious boxing fans understand that, but what the audience who are watching this might not understand is that, you know, these promoters have their lineup of fighters underneath them and they have their one big money guy who's their main person, and if they lose, then they lose their whole business. And the promoter on this side has their one big money guy, and if they lose their whole business. So these two don't want to put up their big money guy because one of them has to lose. And granted, yeah, it would be a big fight that everyone would want to see, but then after that, one of them is in the negative. And because of that, we don't see the big fights in boxing that all the fans want to see. And so that's where the biggest disconnect is, because in the UFC, Dana White can make whoever fight whoever. On the boxing side of things, that's not the case. So I think, you know, in the next couple of years, that just needs to be figured out, ironed out. And we want to see the big fights.
I think what you said is really true about, you know, like Dana and I think who's the other guy? Maybe it's Hunter, one of the matchmakers. I forget their names. But, you know, especially during the pandemic, they were just lining up all these crazy fights back to back. You know, there's these upcoming ones. Who is it? Gaethje Chandler and all these like dream fights. And that's all good. But you've raised some pretty serious issues about that business model. And I think boxing has this problem too,
Yep.
where it's almost like nobody's, the people who are carrying the sports, the fighters, are really getting taken for a ride.
Yeah, it's It's a problem for sure. A big problem. I think, the UFC is paying their fighters 10% of their total earnings, whereas in other leagues like the NBA, the NFL, NHL, they're roughly getting 50% of the total earnings. And so, where is that money going? Directly just to the owners. Dana White is out there betting $7 million on blackjack while his fighters are starting GoFundMe pages. It's really weird.
That's crazy.
It's not cool. And I've sort of spoke up about it, and I think it needs to change. And another thing that people don't understand, which we were talking about before the cameras are on, is like, as a fighter, we're paying for our own expenses in camp. We pay for our own coaches, our own meals, our strength and conditioning, our own facilities. In the NBA and NFL, all of that's covered. So not only do the athletes make more, but they also get all these benefits. In the UFC or even boxing, it's expensive to pay your whole team, to put on a camp, to have everyone staying, down here in Puerto Rico. Like, it's expensive, and I see that, and I'm like, these fighters are getting screwed. This needs to change. I don't have all the answers. I'm not the most powerful, but I do have a good voice and a big platform. And like I said, I just want to change this sport and leave an impact.
It's funny because that's one thing that a lot of people have given you credit on. And I think it's also pretty funny how, I imagine most people would have pegged you to be the last person to be the advocate for fighters.
Yeah.
Whether it's boxers, MMA fighters, UFC, whomever. So, I mean, what do you think is the solution to that? Do you have any ideas on how something like that could be fixed?
I've thought long and hard about this, and I really think the answer is creating like a fighters union where every single fighter from MMA to boxing bands together, and that will create mass power. And I think they've tried to do this before, but it was never done from like a place of authenticity. It was done from a business and financial side. So the people on who tried to create the union just wanted to make profits off of it. I think it has to be started by the fighters, and this is something I've wanted to do. I just know it's a massive project, and I'm 24. I'm fucking got so much shit going on. But if there was a fighters union and the UFC, wasn't paying their fighters, or the boxing promoters weren't treating their fighters fairly, if everyone could band together and just be like, oh, okay, cool, we're banding together as fighters this week, and that event that you had planned on Saturday, none of us are fighting. Sorry. You have to pay us more.
That's it.
But what are people gonna do? And that's why, the problem, the issue is one fighter in the union being like, no, fuck that. I need to make the money. I need the money this weekend. So it's a really difficult thing to manage. But if you could actually get all the fighters to band together, which I'm down for, I think everyone should be down for it. We can actually make change. I think both on the UFC side of things and on the promoter side of things.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the big thing that fighters are missing in terms of just getting the paydays they want, outside of that, right? So before you started fighting, you learned a lot about content and business and marketing and all these other things. What have been some of the best takeaways from that lifestyle you used to live that you've brought over to this?
This is show business, and boxing is a sport, or it's a business disguised as a sport. And that's the bottom line of it, really. And so understanding the business side of things, understanding how to sell yourself, understanding marketing, understanding content, that's almost more important these days than anything else. The fight is literally the last thing that happens. It's all the content, all the promotion, all the shit talk, building your brand, all the photo shoots, the videos, the interviews. The last thing to take place is the fight, and then it's kind of okay, cool, that was fun. So that taught me so much, and I think a lot of boxers are he doesn't deserve to be where he's at, or on these big fights where he's at. He didn't work like us. What people don't understand is I was working since I was 10 years old, making content all the time, polishing my content skills, polishing my marketing skills, polishing my business skills, and that has set me up to where I am today. So I was working just as hard, just in a different way. And so it's been super beneficial, because all of that just grows, what I'm doing, and I'm able to get my message out there and market myself. And I think a lot of fighters, see that, and I think hopefully I can inspire them to maybe take a note from my book and be like, all right, we need a YouTube channel, we need a TikTok, we need to be tweeting, we need to, be different, and bring excitement to the fight versus just showing up and being a fighter.
So maybe not just focusing on that last step in the process, which is the fighting. There's all the other pieces that come before it that are just as, if not more important, it sounds like.
Yep, I think a lot of fighters have always relied on their promoter, or Showtime, for example, or the UFC, or whoever, or Bellator. They've always just relied on them to sell the fight. I think it's the job of the fighter now. I think it's the fighter's job now to sell the fight, and they, whoever's helping can also help, but take initiative. If you want to be a high paid fighter, that might not be for everyone. Not everyone understands it or is willing to do that, but to be at the highest point of this sport, you have to be very well rounded and know all sides of the business.
And speaking of high points, Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
It's not, not knocking Ben Askren. Askren's great. Woodley's a different animal, though.
Yep.
But you seem calm about it. You seem like calm and confident about it.
Yeah, look, I know he's a very tough opponent, and I know that he's a very serious guy. I know that he has knockout power. But I just also know how prepared I am, and how good my team is, and how good of a boxer I am. Even though Tyron Woodley has been boxing longer than me, even though he was a UFC champion while I was doing YouTube videos, I was made for this sport, and my potential, my talent, my team has taken me to a level way above Woodley. And yes, he's fought the UFC guys, the Kamaru Usmans, the Gilbert Burns, the Darren Tills. Those guys are all great, but I'm a better boxer. And it's, people will, clip that and hate on it, but it's the facts. And August 29th, that will be shown, and that's why my team and I had so much confidence in taking this fight. So much confidence going into the fight, and there's not a worry in the world on our side of the table about what's going to happen August 29th. We know the outcome. I'm going to knock him out. I think it happens in less than 3 rounds, and that's that. Really.
Woodley knockout. Jesus, that's serious business. And you talk a lot about preparation, what does that look like for you, day to day leading up to August 29th? Like, you're eating, sleeping, breathing, living this, like it sounds like you're like consumed by this when you're not doing things like this, talking about it. Yeah,
it's a 24/7 job that never turns off. That's one thing that people don't realize about boxing is, there's no off moments. It's from the time you wake up to even sleeping is a part of the job. This is my whole entire life, the way I eat, studying film, studying sparring, getting the recovery, stretching, yoga, meditation, hyperbaric chambers, ice baths, sprinting, jogging, running, punching, sparring, strength and conditioning, abs, neck, doing everything I possibly can to prepare myself both mentally and physically for this fight, and sacrificing everything from drinking and junk food to having sex before the fight. Like you literally have to sacrifice everything and be as disciplined as possible if you want to have a solid performance on fight night.
The funny thing you just mentioned there, I've been reading the biography of Cus D'Amato and obviously Mike Tyson, and that's a big thing Tyson always would say, no sex leading up to fights, nothing like that. Have you learned or taken away anything from him or other fighters of his caliber, even the ones who aren't here, like the Alis, have you studied them? Have you looked into their pasts and, or even asked like Tyson questions, what kind of...
Yeah, so Mike told me, he's like, I don't have sex like 3 months before a fight. And I was like, that's a bit crazy, because I would like start to tweak, I don't know, I'd start to lose my mind. So I mean, I limit it a ton. But yeah, Mike was telling me about that, and he's given me a ton of great advice. Just in a few passings, the guy is just like a novel of knowledge. I remember one time he was just like, we were sitting there on the couch, we just had done like a podcast, and he just started talking to me with the camera when the cameras were off, and just spitting so much knowledge to me.
Wow.
And I was just like consuming as much of it. Like I wanted to like get out my phone and like start writing down what he was saying, but I didn't want him to be like, what the fuck is this kid doing? But it was like 30 minutes straight.
Wow.
Like, and he didn't stop, of like so much knowledge from a person that, not many people have walked in the shoes that, I'm walking in, or the path that I'm going down. It's a very, very lightly treaded path. And so now a lot of people know what you go through, when all eyes are on you at all times and in this spotlight as an athlete. And so it was just really good to hear from someone with so much knowledge, who is like an icon and such a legendary person.
What are there other figures you look to for inspiration? Because I mean, there's no manual on how to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like, what aside from the team and the training, and then obviously getting some wisdom from someone like Mike, just priceless, I'm sure. What else kind of keeps you on the path?
Yeah, I'm very inspired by Muhammad Ali. We actually have the same birthday. So, since I was a kid, before I was even a boxer, I just have always looked up to him and the way he moved, the way he operated, how entertaining he was. And I think the biggest thing I've pulled from him is, he was, I think, even a greater person outside of the ring than he was in the ring. And I think that's why he is such a legendary person, and his name transcends generations. If you ask anyone my age, we've never seen a Muhammad Ali fight live, but everyone knows about him and his impact. And so for me, that's like where I draw inspiration from, making change, hopefully in this sport for the youth, culturally, and using my platform to do that outside of the ring, so that I die a legend, and I died not just being like, oh yeah, like he has a cool couple of fights. Like I want to actually leave a lasting impact.
And speaking of that, and this is another one of those ironies to me, is you were the bully back when you were in school, and now you're an anti-bullying advocate.
Yep.
And you're living proof of it, because you're not only doing everything that you're doing with your nonprofit that I want to talk to you about, but you're also standing up to people who, guys like Dana White, right? And other people like that, who are in really powerful positions and advocating on behalf of people that, you know, most of which probably don't even like you, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Ali, you know, Tyson just said this recently, actually said Ali loved the people more than they loved him in some instances.
That's dope.
And, you know, it's crazy because you were the bully and now you're telling the bullies to fuck off and teaching kids how to fight and everything else. So tell me about that.
Yes, I mean, I think the message of like having to change from being a bully to like stopping and helping defend against bullies has to come from a bully. Otherwise, people will be like, you know, what is it, like? Why do we care what this person has to say? I'm here to talk to the bullies because I once was one, name calling, bringing people down. It seemed fun and cool, but it's just not at the end of the day. And I realized that, you know, as I went on in my career, and people from my school, my friends, were tweeting stuff about me that like really impacted me, because I was like, I thought these were my friends, and their words, while it was like a joke, and in hindsight, you know, some of the things they could say, well, yeah, they might have been funny at the time, but they actually impacted me. And so I was like, damn, I can't believe that I years ago used to treat people this way, because those words probably impacted them for the rest of their lives. And so that's really where the change came, where I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. And that's why I'm so passionate about the movement, because I think the youth has a huge problem with cyberbullying. Anyone can make a fake account on Twitter or Instagram and comment something that will hurt someone for Lord knows how long. And so I just want to, you know, voice up, make awareness about it. And that's like the one side of the foundation, and the other side is, you know, the boxing, where we are getting gloves into the hands of as many kids as possible and just wanting kids to box, because again, that lets out some of that anger, some of that, you know, negative energy, where you may feel like you want to bully someone or do something crazy. You can let that out in the gym. I think boxing got me out of a lot of trouble, and so I think it can get a lot of other kids out of trouble. And that's really where the name Boxing Bullies comes from. It's sort of like a double meaning of, we're fighting against bullying, but then we're also just trying to, you know, have an outlet for kids, which is boxing.
And you know, what's been the, you've always loved boxing, right? I think you were, did you wrestle though? I don't think you boxed when you were younger, right? Or
yeah, so I was a wrestler in high school. I played football, lacrosse, did a bunch of sports, but I grew up a fight fan. You know, my dad always had the MMA fights on the weekend, whatever boxing match was on. And so grew up, that was what we did on Saturday nights, was watch fights. And I remember even going to my first MMA fight that my dad took me to, and it was just electric, you know, like everything about it I loved. And, you know, in the back of my head, I envisioned myself doing that one day. But, you know, the video and Vine and content stuff sort of took over. And that's why when
it's a weird flip.
It's a weird flip.
I want to fight, Vine.
Yeah. No, seriously, I was like wrestling. You know, I wanted to maybe do the Navy SEALs. You know, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And then I was still posting content, which at the time no one was really doing. It wasn't really a profession at the time. Like influencer wasn't even a word. And so, yeah, when that took off and I was making money from it, of course I'm gonna, you know, go down that path. And yeah, it's like I was super passionate about athletics, and I was super passionate about content, and the content thing took off first. But then boom, years later we flipped back, and now I'm on the athletic side of things again.
So I think you have like this unique skill set of fighting and content, and I think it's particularly relevant now because a lot of people in the content space really have to fight to kind of get their content out there, get it recognized and everything else. And I've heard you say, you know, at one point you did, I think like a video a day, 800 days, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Like, was that just like a challenge for you, or do you think that's actually the level of commitment it takes to get to the level you've gotten to? Like, what advice would you give to people who, maybe they don't want to fight, but they want to make it in that space that you made it to the top of?
Yeah, at the time when I was doing that, I told myself, look, I'm just gonna vlog every single day, and that's when my fan base grew like crazy. My businesses were growing like crazy, and I was thoroughly enjoying myself doing it. But at the time, consistency and the amount of videos you put out there was like the key algorithm for YouTube. And so it was like a TV show every single day, and YouTube really loved that. But now it's sort of flipped to quality over quantity. So it's like a little bit different of a world we live in now, where like how good your video is from start to finish is more important than posting every single day. But yeah, I just went on a rampage and committed to doing it every single day, and my fans loved it. I was getting millions and millions of views, and I just never wanted to stop. And then it's almost like I blinked, and all of a sudden I had been doing it for like 800 days, and I was just like, wow, this is absolutely crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was willing to do what most other people weren't willing. It was hard at many times to wake up and produce 15 minutes of content every single day, and I wanted the videos to get better and better and better and better, so I was really pushing myself. But yeah, it definitely was a crazy ride.
Was there moments in that process where you were like, I don't feel like doing a video today, that you just but you were just like, I got to do it. I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, so many days. I think the first 180 days was like so fun and never second guessed it. And then there would be days sometimes where it's like, wow, this is really hard. Mm-hmm. This is challenging. And there's 5, 10, 15 million people waiting for me to upload tomorrow. It's like that. It's almost like this pressure of you have to deliver. And so it's very definitely mentally taxing, and you start to get confused between reality and what you're filming in a weird way. It's like it was almost like it was definitely unhealthy. When you're a YouTuber, it's like what's real life and what's what am I doing for my vlog? Yeah. And so I noticed you start to lose friends. You get into arguments for something that happened on the video, and it's I don't know what's going on. So after so long, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And made that decision to finally move on and sort of reevaluate my life after that.
It seems now, though, the pressure's greater, stakes are higher, more eyeballs, but you're taking it differently.
Yeah, I think all of that trained me for moments like this. All that pressure and tough moments. It really trained me mentally to be super strong for fights like this, and it's definitely the biggest moment of my life coming up. The most amount of eyeballs will be on, and I have to deliver. I think that drives me. At first it was a bit scary to get into the ring in my first fight because I didn't know what I was getting myself into really. But now that pressure, I feed off of it, and I'm a game time player. I like when the lights are on. I like when I have to show up and be the best version of myself. And knowing that all of this work that we're doing, that breeds confidence on fight night because I know I'll be fully prepared for anything. Mm-hmm.
And I just want to close out with two things that tie into all of this really. What's the biggest thing you think people misunderstand about you, the general public? And then two, what's the biggest thing the media is doing wrong, you think?
Yeah, I think, from an outside point of view, you Google my name and there's a crazy past of controversies, and very easily people can start to make up in their own head like what they think of me, of what kind of person I am or who they think I am. But genuinely, when you get to the bottom of all those controversies, it's when you peel back the layers of who Jake Paul is, like I'm a good guy. I know I'm a good guy. I can look myself in the mirror and know that every single day, and that's why I don't lose sense of who I am, is because no matter what people say about me, I know that it's just media and people targeting me and accusations that aren't even true. Anyone can say anything about anyone at any time and people can believe it, but I know who I am and my character will always shine through. And so I think when you peel back the layers of my career, if anyone else was living their life on camera from age 16 to 24 with millions of people watching and waiting for you to make a mistake, what would that look like? Like really think, like what's that one or two or three things that you did that that no one knows about, like that would have probably gotten exposed if millions of people were waiting for you to fail and knew that you were famous or had something on camera. So, I'm a human at the end of the day. I'm going to make mistakes, but all I can do is learn from it. So I really think that's like the biggest misunderstanding. And, I like to ruffle feathers on purpose. And I think sometimes that like pisses people off, but I think the internet's boring. I think someone needs to shake shit up and do it differently. And I'm nominating myself to do that sometimes. And it rubs people the wrong way, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it on purpose. And the media, just in general, I think likes to focus on toxicity and negativity, and that's what drama sells. Good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster. And so clickbait articles, the bad news, the drama, the gossip, that's all the media is focused on nowadays, and there's no authentic storytelling, and people will literally make up stories about you to get clicks and to drive their business. And we've really lost a sense of authentic media in our culture today. And the other problem is that the people who are looking at the media have lost sense of their own, radar of what's real, what's not. They just read it and they're like, this is a fact. And so, it's definitely a massive problem in this generation. And who knows where we're going, but it's scary.
Yeah, gotta keep fighting. You really spent $100K on that chain?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Fucking
now
professional
Dustin,
troll.
It was so worth it though, like
It's so
so worth it, man. And now Dustin has it.
How has he reacted to it, by the way?
Connor?
Or both, yeah.
Dustin, I think is auctioning it off for charity, but I know Connor has seen it. He had to have seen it. I think he hates me.
So was that a part of the chess that you've been playing here? Because like I forget when it happened, but like I remember there was just a time where I went on Instagram one day and I think you had like the Irish flag on, and I was just like, I called him up. I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
This kid's out of his mind.
But it was crazy because, it's obvious why, it appeared crazy. Was that like a part of the chess that you're trying to play, or was it like, I really don't like Conor and I think I could beat him up? You know what I mean?
It's both. Yeah, like part of it's like the chess game comes from a place of authenticity, but I'm not afraid to like put on a show and like be a little bit crazy, because that's how you like shine through in today's content space. But yeah, look, I wanted to piss him off. I think there's been people who I don't want to fight, but they maybe post some piece of content and it pisses me off enough for me to be like, I want to fight them. So that's like what I was trying to do. Like, yo, I'm gonna piss off this guy so much that he has to fight me.
Yeah.
So would the Conor fight ever happen, you think?
I think it's very real. Yeah.
Very real.
It's crazy.
Yeah, very, very real. I mean, we'll see, you know. I think I'm only getting bigger. He's only getting smaller, and I think we'll meet somewhere in between. And I think it's a massive fight. If my brother could fight Floyd Mayweather, I could fight whoever.
Yeah.
So, you know, he has showed me that anything's possible.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's 2021.
Up is down, down is up. Who the hell knows what the center is?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was. I couldn't even believe that. I think most people couldn't even believe that. That was just.
Yeah, even sitting ringside, you know, I'm looking up in the ring, and like the bell's about to ring for the first round. I'm like, I literally just sat there like, how did we get here? Like, how am I here?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I had like a shocking moment in my mind of like, that's my brother.
Yeah.
But how are we fighting in a stadium? It was like surreal. Like I almost lost sense of like what was going on. Honestly.
What does your family think about this? Like your dad, and you know what I mean? Like, do they think this is just like all nuts too? Like what?
Yeah, they're very supportive first and foremost, and they understand, you know, what it is we do. But yeah, we're just that same family from Ohio, and life was very simple, and so this is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And so we've all adapted and like learned this industry and this space, but yes, even my parents sometimes are like, this is crazy. Like, they don't even know, like, you know, what's going on half the time. And it's definitely been a roller coaster, but wouldn't change anything, honestly.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Alex, anything to add? Jake, anything to add?
Yeah.
No, I
think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I think it was good.
That video, I think it was you were in the back of like a pickup or something. I think you threw like a bottle of water at Dillon Danis.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is Danis always on Instagram commenting? He needs to go fight.
Bro, what's
going on with that?
He's the professional fighter who never fights. It's weird. Like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't actually fight, but he definitely is like an Instagram thought more so than he is anything else. But kudos to him, man. He's the world's #1 fanboy. Like, I genuinely think he has notifications for all of the like sports channels turned on, and any single time there's a post about fighting, he's on typing it. But I think it's backfiring because people are realizing this guy's a loser. Like, at first it was like, okay, he's driving traction to his page. Oh, this is Conor McGregor's friend. He's, you know, this is funny comment, And now people are like, wow, this guy has no life. He literally just sits on Instagram all day and is not even a fighter. Like, I'm a YouTuber and I've fought twice as much as him. And he's years older than me. But hey, what are we gonna do?
That's it.
What are we gonna do?
It's 2021. Hell of a world we're in. Cool. All right, Jake. Thank you so much, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
100%.